Oh, thank you. Let me call the meeting to order and start by reading our mission statement. The Newmarket School District is committed to the highest standards of quality education by creating a safe and successful learning community that embraces diversity and responds to the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical needs of every child. We are dedicated to fostering links to the broader community to ensure that students develop lifelong skills, enabling them to be contributing and productive members of society. We'd like to start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. You want to lead us in that, James?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, visitors. It looks like we have a nice crowd here tonight. Would anybody, before we get going, like to make comments on the agenda? There were copies outside if you didn't get them. Super. Okay. Well, why don't we jump into the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 16th school board meeting.
Second that.
Any discussion, changes?
Two slight typos.
Okay.
Gatsas is spelled G-A-T-S-A-S. Other than that, good to go.
On page 3, at the top of the page, it says, it's stated that Mr. Christopher Hawkins and Dana Glennon,
Yeah.
and Dana Glennon should be removed. I missed that. First time through.
How do you spell that, Chris? S-A-S.
S-A-S.
Yes.
First page. G-A-T-S-U-S. It's twice.
Are there other changes? Okay, all in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Love it.
Do we need a second motion for the non-public minutes? Can I get a motion on the non-public minutes?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Super. Let's see, correspondence. Other than this, which was waiting for me at home, which just slowed up. I don't know what it's from. Rod Balls. Do we have other correspondence we want to be oh, copy of the email that you have. Let me just tell you a little bit about this correspondence. I spoke this week with Rod Balls, who's our treasurer, and he commented very positively on some of the changes that have been made over the past year with respect to our financial practices, and he is going to come to a future, probably our August meeting, and report on some of that in person. Let's see. Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, comment on these letters that were in your packets. The first one was a letter that we sent to Dory Nelson. Dory is a volunteer at Newmarket Junior Senior High School, and she is often, if you go to the building, you will see Dory in the office helping out, assisting when someone's ill or absent. That was loud. You'll see Dory there, and I just thought it would be nice to recognize her volunteerism at the high school. The second letter is a letter that I sent on behalf of the school board to thank the Seacoast, I knew I was going to forget it, SAS.
It's the Sexual
Seacoast.
Assault
Right.
Support Services Group
Right.
who assisted us in this recent piece and Kathy and I had discussed sending them a thank you note and a small donation,
Which is
what
in
this
there for
covers.
you. And the last letter was a letter that I received from a family relative to the preschool program at our elementary school, praising the work of our teachers, Julie Cooper and staff, for the countless hours and efforts they put in on behalf of this family. So I just thought it was nice to receive some kudos, and certainly that program is outstanding.
Yeah, she made special mention of the entire preschool staff, Beth Cirillo, Jean Fritz, Marie Darling, Ann Tufts, and Christine Laurenti, for the services that she had received.
Good.
Okay, more correspondence that we know of, don't know of, that others have received?
Only that back on July 2nd, I had the pleasure of watching James Loisel stroke the game-winning hit in the second game of a doubleheader against Sanborn.
Oh,
With 2 outs and 0-2 count, bases loaded, top of the 7th, game on the line. James coolly ripped a single through the center, and Newmarket won the game 4-3.
well, I think that's, I wouldn't necessarily call that correspondence, but clearly the Red Sox are looking, I'm sure.
It calls for a little applause.
But I do claim a little bit of credit because I had my rally cap on.
Don't even go there, Chris.
I had my hat on inside out and backwards.
Okay. I do want to, before we get into the programs, take a minute out and acknowledge Michael Gill, a town employee who was very committed to, in his tenure here, helping the school department as well as the town with technology issues. And we're grateful for his willingness to step forward and help the school district on numerous occasions selflessly. He's the one who had made, through no small effort, the ability for us to have television, for us, for those of you at home who are watching this tonight, to see us on cable, and work tirelessly on behalf of the school. He will be missed and represents a real loss for this community. I just want to take just a brief moment of silence to remember him. Thank you. Okay. Just moving along, we have a couple of handbooks to come to discuss next. And Deborah, would you like to start off with our...
I certainly would. I'm hoping that you all have copies of both the junior high and the high school handbook. We decided last year to separate those two because oftentimes things that pertain to our high school population do not necessarily pertain to our middle school population. Hopefully you have both of these. I highlighted for you in green the changes. The high school handbook has the most changes, so what is the wish of the board? I'd be happy to go through those changes and let you know the rationale for each. There are fewer changes this year than have been in the past, and I will explain that after we've looked at the handbooks. Would you like me to kind of highlight the major changes as I see them?
Maybe the substantive changes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think a brief walkthrough of some
Okay.
of those would be...
On page 6, if you'll glance there.
Which
there.
one, Debbie?
Pardon me?
Which one?
The
High school, please, the high school. Before we get started, could I just say one thing, that we are so thrilled to have Wayne Winters, our new assistant principal, aboard, and he is here tonight with us. He was so anxious to start his job that even though his contract started on July 1, he wanted to get involved in our new positive behavior intervention support system. So he attended a workshop day with me on June 27th at Plymouth State College and has been working with Scott Thompson. But I want you to know I have never seen anyone leave a job in such a fantastic way so that the new person coming in could transition in as well as Mr. Thompson did. He was there till late in the evening on June 30th, came in another day in July to help Wayne make that transition, left sample letters, data, etc. So we are very grateful for his strong work ethic and the assistance that he has given Wayne for this transition. So with that said, will you look at page 6, please? For graduation requirements, the state has now changed the graduation requirements, and we are requiring that all students take 3 credits of math to graduate. That is new this year, and this is documented in this handbook, so it's documented on page 6.
Was it 2 last year?
Yes, and a combination, they could take 3 science and 2 math, but now they're saying they have to take 3 math. We get lots of questions from both parents and students. Yes,
You want us to ask questions as you go along?
certainly, certainly.
On the rotating block schedule,
Yes.
and that you have, I notice you have A, B, and C that rotate over the first, second, third, and fourth quarters. Why doesn't the bottom periods rotate higher?
They do. They do.
They don't go up to the first or second periods.
If you'll look on page 5, Mr. Jablonski, first quarter rotating is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then to your right would be second quarter, and it's B, C, A, D, G, E, F.
Right.
I think what he's saying is that they're never part of, like, the first couple of periods. They're always still at the end of the day. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Oh, we send students to Seacoast School of Technology, so we have to plan our schedule so that we don't interfere with their going either in the morning or the afternoon.
Locked in.
Right, so that's why D stays constant, because that's the period that we transport them back and forth to the Seacoast School of Technology, so we're able to rotate A, B, and C, and E, F, and G, so that doesn't upset their schedule there.
The other thing is, in terms of class time, the amount of instructional minutes that we're allowed to teach. Now, the state board said we have to have 990 minutes of instruction in the classroom. That means for the total school. Okay, so each student would basically have just parts of that.
Right, and it equates to what their schedule has. In other words, she looks at 50-minute blocks,
Yeah.
and how many weeks and how many times a week they meet equals the number of hours that are required by the state board. The board changed from days to hours.
So the total amount of time that we have is 1,050 hours. The way I count
Which
it
it
out.
exceeds what the state's
What the
demanding.
state-
That's correct.
Those were minimum standards, and
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. So if you'll notice that on page 9, because we do have so many students and parents ask us, how do you compute a grade point average? How do I compute my rank in class? So we've delineated it on pages 9 and 10 so that parents or students, if they wish, can go ahead and compute their own grade point averages should they desire to do that. Progress reports, you'll notice on page 11 were highlighted as only a change in date. Yes.
On page 10,
Uh-huh.
I went through these commutations, and I noticed on, if you're using that as an example on the left-hand side, page 8.
Page 8?
9, I'm sorry, 9.
Okay.
And we're using the second part of that, which is, I guess, a C. I think you're using a C, and you're using a C as a 75, but you got to calculate it as a 75.2. Where does this .2 come from?
Where are you oh, okay. This is a sample. That would be a sample grade that a student could have earned. It's rounded to 75 for the report card, but the teacher would report 75.2.
Okay, so
And
they
so-
would actually follow on bottom of page 10, that line of grades? They would actually follow that line of grades that you have on the bottom of page 10, where the percent, the grade point average.
Right, because if you'll look, it says 72.5, because anything higher than 72.5 would be rounded off on our grade reporting system that's computerized to a 75.5, I said, to a 76. So on the percent, we've really delineated it out, but our system does it by 0.5 to 76.49.
Okay,
get-
so you're just picking any number that would go into that category of grades.
Correct,
All right.
correct. Anything else? On page 11, we just put dates that are different. That's not a big deal from last year. But on page 15, we are saying this year that if a student has an out-of-school suspension, if that happens, we will revoke their senior privileges on that day for the remaining portion of that quarter and the next quarter, because we feel that students who have senior privileges should demonstrate appropriate student behavior at all times.
Can you just let us know the logic behind this change?
In the past, if a student was suspended, let me say that it might be on the first day of a quarter. That means that according to our past rule, they would retain their senior privileges through that entire quarter. The next quarter, they would not be eligible for senior privileges, because the criteria is that you can't have any discipline situation that results in an out-of-school suspension. Okay? So now we're saying, is that just to all students? That we would allow you, who got suspended on the first day of the quarter for 3 days, to come back to school and then continue on with your senior privileges for the entire quarter, even though your infraction was worthy of an out-of-school suspension. And then next quarter, you would only have to suffer the consequences of a loss of senior privileges. And we think that that's not just for all students, that if we as a school system are saying that senior privileges mean that we can put our trust in these students, because their parents have done so by signing off on senior privileges forms, that they will display and demonstrate appropriate school behavior at all times. If they don't, then perhaps our trust is misplaced and they need to wait a period of time before they can regain that trust and get the senior privileges again.
Okay.
Yes.
My question was in regards to the violation of attendance and tardiness and dismissals by seniors.
Uh-huh.
Would those privileges be dismissed at that time?
The purpose of that is to say to young people that if you have senior privileges, you'll be able to leave campus and come back. You must come back at the appropriate time for your class. If you don't, after 3 tardies, we think that you need to revisit the importance that school plays in your life and not have senior privileges anymore for that quarter. So they would lose them for that quarter, and then we would try it again the second quarter.
Now, the terms of 3 tardiness, is that basically a rule you set up through the school, or is that set up through just seniors?
Through the school. If you'll reflect back on our attendance policy at Newmarket, it's 3 tardies equal 1 absence. So we've kind of based our decision on senior privileges in that same fashion. May I continue? Okay. The other thing that would be different would be page 18.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
16?
Uh-huh.
On page 16, 17, where you have, we're talking about the ranking class.
Correct.
Now, what is the difference between the ranking class on these two than that you have on page 9?
Rank in class is weighted at Newmarket. There is a a weight given to classes based on their academic challenge, if they're academically challenging or not. So based on that, they get a weight. For example, if you look with me at an A+, if I'm enrolled in an English L3 course, that A+ is weighted at 4.33. If I'm enrolled in a English course that's an L4 course, then that A+ is weighted at 5.33. Those are then added to compute the rank in class, because we do have a weighted system. Okay? And then the next change, and this is a biggie, so I would want your support on this. This is on page 18. The staff and I have talked about the fact that currently we require that all of our freshman, sophomore, and junior students take 6 classes, and during their senior year, they can take only 5. Please remember that we're operating on a 7-period day. We feel that that's probably not in the best interest of our seniors. If you look at college admissions officers, they're looking at that senior year to be sure that students are still challenging themselves and still academically really participating, that they don't have senioritis, if you will, and not taking courses that they should. So we would like to change that during the 2006 and 2007 school year, all seniors will be required to take 6 classes instead of 5. Opinions, feelings?
When it was dropped from required 6 to encouraged to take 6, what was the rationale for that?
I wasn't here at that time. Since I've been in the building,
Okay.
it has always been 5, and there's been a lot of controversy about the fact that seniors should be taking 6. And this year, the staff was pretty adamant about it, and so was Tom Pavlidis, because he deals with admission officers at colleges and feels that we're not being fair to our students if we're not requiring them to take the 6.
Do you know how long it's been since we only required 5?
This is my 9th year, Linda, and I know that all the time that I've been there, it's been a requirement of 5, and that I know was there the year before that, so there would be 10 that I know of.
Just if I could add a comment, I think this is another example of the high school staff recommending programmatic changes to you to ratchet up the curriculum and to have high expectations for our students so that when they do leave, they are successful. And the staff is clearly behind this, and I think it's very important for our students.
If I could direct your attention then,
One quick
I'm sorry?
question. On page 18, when you add and drop procedures, you say that courses dropped prior to the end of the first marking period will not be recorded on a report card.
Correct.
How close to the marking period are we talking about?
Well, we've not set a date, if you'll notice, Mr. Jablonski. It does say prior to the end of the first marking period. We have allowed students to drop maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks into a quarter, but I would want you to know that's not just coming into the office and saying, I wish to drop. That's after having many conversations with parents and the students, encouraging them to try a little harder, to be more successful, to get additional help. And after all those tries, if we're not successful and the student still feels that that course, that he or she was inappropriately placed, then and only then would we say, all right, we'll allow you to drop, and it won't show on your transcript. We don't take something like that lightly. We would want to encourage students to challenge themselves.
In addition, Chet, we have students that, for family issues, illness, and other circumstances where they may have been out of school and missed a lot of the class, feel that they're behind and can't catch up, even with additional support and tutoring, that it would be wise to drop it that semester and then start up again the next year and take that class.
Is there an opportunity for a student who would fall into that kind of a situation, are they able to pick up another class so that they are
Yes.
meeting that requirement? Okay.
Yes, most often, yes. The only problem might be, depending on what they wish to take, they may have to wait to the beginning of the first semester, depending on what they're asking to take. If, for example, if it were, they wanted to pick up a Spanish 1 class in the 8th week of the first quarter, we would probably think that that would not be in their best interest to do so. If I could direct your attention to page 24, eligibility. You as a board made a decision to change our eligibility for all extracurricular activities. That's very well stated on page 24, that students must be eligible, must maintain at least a C- average in 4 courses in order to participate. So that is written in the handbook as you wished. On page 31, the bullying policy, we decided this year to write that in the handbook in its entirety, and it's not on page 31. I'm wondering if that I have the other book. It is on page 37. And we left it in its entirety as you folks had printed that, so all students and parents are aware of that. The only change in our dress code on page 43 is that we added that students are not allowed to wear pajamas or slippers. I don't know if it's become fashionable in this last year, but we've had several more young women than young men choose to wear what we deem as pajama bottoms and wear their slippers. And although they didn't conflict with the past dress policy, we decided as a staff that it was necessary to add this so that all students would know that those are not allowed.
Can I commend 2 items?
Mhm.
One is no pajamas or slippers. Okay, as long as it applies to the superintendent's office also. Kathy, leave the slippers at home. The other thing is, and I talked about this earlier, is flip-flops. I don't require it, but I commend to your consideration prohibiting flip-flops, because I think they're unsafe for kids who have to run out of the building for some reason. I don't require
we
it.
have not deemed those inappropriate for school.
I understand.
I would tell you that we do have students who wear them, but we have not had any accidents that I'm aware of at all from them wearing those. And I guess it's my opinion that there is a point in which we have to give students some individuality and also put some responsibility on the parents as to what they allow their youngsters to wear. That even though these are our policies, I'm sure that there are many parents who have more stringent policies with what their children wear to school, and naturally they can implement those. That's a parental right.
All I'm asking you to do is take it under consideration.
Consideration.
I'm not asking you to change it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm also curious, I heard talk that, that maybe a group was going to get together to talk a little bit about the dress code policy. Is that?
I think they did. Catherine McGilvery agreed as student council advisor and also as a volunteer to discuss the dress code with a group of people and present to us some changes. So I know she spoke with student council members and staff members, and the only change they made was number 10. There was a lot of controversy, I would tell you, over the length of shorts and the length of skirts. And I would tell you that that is a very difficult thing to do. Currently, as you can see in our dress policy, students have to stand with their arms extended to their sides, and their clothing, their fingertips must touch the hem of their clothing. If their fingertips are longer than their clothing, dress or shorts, they are asked to call a parent and go home and change clothing. Catherine and the group of students thought that maybe it might be more appropriate to use a hand and ask a student to sit down, put their fingertips on their knee, and wherever their wrist fell on their thigh, that would be the appropriate length once they stood up. But as you can see, that's very, very difficult for us as administrators to try to work with youngsters. So we think that the fingertip idea, and then there's controversy because some people say, well, she has longer arms. And because she has longer arms, then her shorts look longer, but they're really not. So there is controversy, but we still think, all in all, that's probably the most fair way to measure skirts and shorts on both boys and girls.
And one other thing, I'm just curious, is this, does this apply to the teachers as well, to the staff as well?
Definitely. In fact, we have had with staff a no shorts policy. And the only time we've deviated from that is when that building is so intolerably warm that we've said to staff, we understand you can wear shorts. However, all staff members should meet this. We're role modeling for young people. And if not, I'd like to know about it. Yes.
I noticed that in the handbook itself, there's nothing there about fire drills, what the students should do, or where they should conjugate and so forth.
No, if you'll look on page 44, we have added this year when it says fire alarm and equipment, students are to remain silent as they exit the building, remain with their teacher and class, and await further instructions. We have not strictly enforced the silence, and we find now that that's becoming a problem, and so the staff as a whole voted for that. Each staff member tells their students on the first day of school where to exit their classroom appropriately in case of any emergency. They then give them specific instructions as to where to stand so they may take attendance. That's not written in the handbook. That's something the teachers do with each of their classes. Because as you know, as students roam around the building, there are different exits that are appropriate for each classroom. The next change that we had was on page 45, was leaving school grounds. Last year, we asked that we incorporate an extended day detention in lieu of in-school suspension. Before, when students left school grounds without permission, they were assigned immediately to an in-school suspension. We are no longer using that consequence, so they will be assigned an extended day detention, which involves remaining after school from 2:40 till 4:40. On page, no, that's it. 45 was the last one. Those are our major changes in these two handbooks, and as you know, they are small, and I will tell you why. We, as a Newmarket school district, applied to be involved in a state-funded program that I've spoken to you about previously called Positive Intervention Supports and Systems. With that, we have had some instruction on how we should work, we adults, with youngsters in a more positive way to change behavior in a school. The team consists of 2 coaches, Dennis Towns, who is our business instructor at the high school, and Danielle Strawn-Phillips, who is our school psychologist. I would tell you that those 2 people have really taken charge of this program and are doing an excellent, excellent job. They are spending many, many hours above the time that we meet so that they can present material in a written fashion for further discussion at the next meeting. Our training started formally on June 27th, where in fact, the entire team at Newmarket went to Plymouth State College for a day-long workshop. A targeted team, which involved other teachers in our building, were trained on that Tuesday and Wednesday, which would have been the 28th and 29th. And the PBIS group is meeting every Tuesday for a minimum of 2 hours throughout the summer. Those that are vacationing just miss one meeting and we continue. The team as a whole have decided to reflect on 3 major principles for discipline for this next school year. They are cooperation, respect, and responsibility. With those, we are changing our referral form, the common referral form that a teacher fills out if a student has inappropriate behavior in the classroom. That will look totally different this next year than it looks now. The PBIS system requires that we identify minor and major infractions and deal with them accordingly. Because we are still in the draft form, this team is working. There are 2 teams working during the summer. They will present to the entire faculty the 2 school days before school starts for teacher workshops, because a system like this cannot work if just a select group is involved. We need all staff to buy into this. I think I cited an example for you folks earlier about inconsistency with teachers. If I could cite an example again, Chris Bauer is a teacher. He teaches science and I teach English. His definition of a student being tardy is that student is not in his or her seat. My definition of a student being tardy is if I'm standing in the hallway door watching kids and the bell rings and I can see my student, I'm going to let him come on in. That's not tardy. That small of an example let students then judge what's acceptable for Mr. Bauer. Oh, Mrs. Brooks is a lot easier. I can be a little bit later, but boy, Mr. Bauer, I've got to be seated in my seat. We would like to have that same consistency throughout our building. One example that PBIS cited for us is to take a week and do what they call the 2 feet in model. And that means that all students and all teachers would know that if both of their feet are in that classroom, they are then not tardy. And that would be a consistent message throughout the entire student body, so everyone then learns what does tardy mean at Newmarket Junior Senior High School. They then suggest that we give students rewards for those that are doing positive things. Not rewards monetarily, but something in the school that they might really enjoy. We have talked about the fact that maybe a student who does something might want to park their car in a teacher's parking space for a week as a reward. I would like to share with you, so I don't take a lot of time this evening, a draft of a behavior matrix that have been working on all summer so far, and it's still a draft, so they said you can share it with the board if you put draft across it. Examples.
Deborah, before we jump into this, can we just finish this piece?
Certainly.
Because I'm very interested in
Certainly.
this training program and the report. Was there more on this that people wanted to comment or know about?
There's one thing.
Yeah. 'Cause we have to take a vote on this.
Okay.
And I'd like to hear about the
Okay.
junior high
That's
one as
perfectly fine.
Both booklets identify Mr. Chase as Chris. His name is Cliff,
Right on the front
well. Okay, there's a little.
because I'm always looking
Thank
out
you
for
very
Cliff.
much, yeah.
he's
we'll
looking
get
out for
that.
Chris.
But this is a draft, you realize.
I
There's
understand.
several people in here who have left our system.
Typos, just-
Before we talk about the junior high one, were there any more comments or questions on the
High school.
the high school one?
No, sir.
I'm looking through the book itself. I notice you don't have the important dates for students to remember. For example, college fair dates, SAT dates, when they should register, how much it costs.
Right, Mr.
Comes out in a
so
separate
Jablonski, we put that on our school calendar. Every student is given it's an 8x10 school calendar on the first day of school that lists all important dates throughout the school year, the ones that we know to date.
And they're given that calendar.
Yes, So they can go home, and a lot of parents tell me they hang it on the refrigerator and it stays there.
Some of those dates might change, too. You never know.
Right, they're all susceptible to change, but we do provide that for all youngsters.
Any changes in I know you went through the senior high
I
one,
did
there were-
because the junior highs were the same as the high school. There were no other changes that were any importance. The only thing I would direct your attention to would be page 34.
Okay.
33 and 34. In the junior high handbook, they ask that under displaying affection, students are expected to refrain from physically expressing affection. That's an addition. Under dress policy, under number 5, outdoor coats cannot be worn in school. They must be stored in lockers. Teachers would like, and I say would like because my only concern about that, and I would ask you to reflect on the size of lockers that we provide for our students at Newmarket Junior Senior High School. Some of especially our 6th graders, only have a top portion or a bottom portion. It's our hope that their coats will fit in there, but we will have to look at that on an individual basis.
Now, I noticed you had highlighted the family vacation procedure on page 15. Did you want Want to comment on that? For the junior high?
I think oftentimes parents plan vacations, and they may be impromptu, and it may force a student to miss school. We want them to know that we would like them to secure a form at least 2 weeks in advance and let us know where they're going so that youngsters and teachers can plan homework assignments in advance.
And that's a new change, a procedural change.
Correct. That we've added just to this little handbook.
Okay. Other questions about the junior high handbook? I think last year we did some sort of motion with approval for these changes, as I recall that. Did we do that? Yeah. Can we get a motion on this before we move on to the positive?
Yeah, move the adoption of the junior, senior high school student parent handbooks, plural, for the 2005-2006 school year, as amended or not through our discussions.
Well, I think we can get Cliff's name fixed on this in the draft.
Must I not be confused with Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll
God
second
forbid.
that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What?
I'm not in favor.
You're not, well, hang on a second. We had a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
Discussion is I'm not in favor of the handbook because I think there's too general. There's too much left out of it.
Okay. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Right.
Great.
I don't want to take any more of your time. I'd just like to share with you this draft that you can read on your own, because we will be presenting more in the fall when we have a more definitive.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Thanks, Deborah.
So that you can just look at this and know in which direction we're heading
Thank you.
for this new systems process. And I'm sure
Thank you, Debbie.
the coaches, you're very welcome, will be back at a later date in the fall after we've presented to the staff this format so that they may make some comments.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
We have, before we get into the Facilities Committee report, which I'm anxiously awaiting, we have in front of you the draft resolution for the New Hampshire School Board resolution on healthcare costs. This is the one that was submitted last year, and was it unanimously approved last
Yes.
year?
Yes.
And I'm just going to read it. This is the Newmarket School Board submits the following proposed resolution for consideration by the 2005 New Hampshire School Board Association Delegate Assembly, that the NHSBA support a statewide effort to work with legislative bodies to address the spiraling costs associated with healthcare benefits borne by the school districts in New Hampshire. This is one of those ones that we need to take a motion on in order for it to go forward.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great,
I'll send it off tomorrow.
great. I signed the copy already.
Oh, good, okay.
This was the
In the
only,
packet.
Good,
I had a
okay.
feeling this one would go through.
Yeah, it will.
this was the only externally submitted resolution that they adopted last year.
Well, good. Great. We now have committee reports.
I don't know why my name's on here, because Chris is doing it alone.
Yeah, great. Welcome. Dr.
Good
Bauer.
evening, and appreciate the opportunity to present the committee report to you this evening. I actually have it in a statement form that I'm going to read, which will keep me moving ahead instead of wandering when I talk, and then I'll pass that along for the minutes. And I know that you've already heard presentations about the status of the report. There's been various meetings. You've had a hearing about this, so I'm not going to reiterate all the details of the report. What I'm going to do is just kind of make this, in a sense, an endpoint with respect to the committee's activities, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. My name again is Chris Bauer. I'm the chair of the Facilities Advisory Committee, and I'm proud to present to you the written document containing the deliberations and recommendations of the School Board Facilities Advisory Committee. This report represents the collective efforts of about 20 dedicated people over the last year. A number of those folks are with us this evening. Raise your hand if you're on the committee. Okay, we won't go through all the names, right? So, thank those folks for their efforts. Having been a member of the last two facilities committees over the past 15 years, I would consider this report to be the most thorough and well documented that the board has been given. We have also made a significant effort to engage the community outside of the schools in our fact-finding activities through surveys, open meetings, and building tours. So this document does not represent the opinion of a small number of insulated people, but has incorporated a sense of the desires of the wider Newmarket community. This is appropriate because the board decisions that may follow are likely to affect schooling in Newmarket for 50 years. I want to highlight two pieces of this report this evening. First, I want to quickly review the summary of findings, which are basically the results of our studies. And secondly, to review the committee's recommendations. Some of this may be redundant with presentations that you've heard at previous meetings, but it is another opportunity to inform the public. So I'm talking off of Section 2, the summary of findings, and I'm not just reading them down. I've reformatted these as little paragraphs. So under summary of findings, there are basically three sets of findings. One has to do with the physical facility. The current junior-senior high school building, built in 1924, is at 93.7% utilization rate, compared with a State Department of Education maximum of 80%, which severely limits the ability to diversify educational programs. 19 of the 21 classrooms in the junior-senior high school do not meet current Department of Education guidelines for classroom size. The building does not comply with the American with Disabilities Act. It has significant electrical and plumbing deficiencies, and there's no ability to expand on the site. The elementary building is in better shape physically, but it has limited storage, cramped programs, and temporary modular units that have exceeded their lifetime. In the area of curriculum, instruction, and administration, community members and students believe that the condition of the facilities affects the quality of education. They express a preference to diversify and enhance programs in the core academic areas, fine arts, industrial arts, sports and other extracurriculars, health, and guidance, but the current facility cannot support that. There is a strong desire to segregate the middle school students from the high school students much more effectively. The junior-senior high school can't easily accommodate improvements in technology, does not support curricula structured on best practices, and has nearly no privacy. Planning. Land is increasingly scarce and expensive. State aid is 40% now, but that could change. Student numbers are expected to grow, and the current facility is not well suited for cultural and community events. This includes the lack of auditorium space. 3 separate facilities having an elementary, a middle, and high separate buildings would be more expensive to build and operate than to stay with the 2-building model, an elementary and a combined middle senior high school. Waiting, doing nothing, or doing patchwork only delays the problems or produces unacceptable compromises that future Newmarket residents and school children would pay the price for. So those are essentially the findings of our investigations. Now I'm just going to highlight the final recommendations, which are towards the end of the report. I'm going to paraphrase these much more short, in a shorter way than they're written there, but still 1 through 10. 1, our recommendation as a committee is that we should be looking to build a new combined middle-high building, a middle school, high school building with grades 5 to 8 middle school, grades 9 to 12 for the high school, segregated from each other. The elementary building then becomes grades K through 4. Second recommendation is to acquire land. And actually, if you look back at previous recommendations of facilities committees, that's been on there before. Third, hire a professional design team. Fourth, reconstitute the Facilities Advisory Committee as a facilities design committee. 5, evaluate funding sources, including retiring bonds, looking at the current bond structure, capital accounts, impact fees, grants, and sale of school property. 6, investigate bringing tuition-paying students into town from elsewhere. 7, form a separate elementary school master plan committee so that we don't forget that there are issues at the elementary school that we need to plan for. 8, form a task force to determine what to do with the current junior senior high school building. 9th, adopt the final report and recommendation of the school's facilities advisory committee. And 10, take all other necessary steps to assure that these things are achieved. So I will stop there. There's plenty more to say. The report itself includes about a dozen pages of text. It includes all the minutes of our meetings and includes a number of appendices that includes summaries of the reports from Team Design Incorporated, which was the architectural and design firm that worked with us. Includes the results of community and student surveys, the results of comments that the public have brought to us at the open hearings and community charrettes. Includes information on financial projections, analysis of the various options we considered in terms of configuring the school district and grade levels, and detailed conceptual design of those options, which these boards here in the room indicate some of the things that we did look at. These pictures are backed up with detailed conceptual designs put together by Team Design Incorporated as well to help us come up with financial estimates. So I will stop there, and if folks have any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
If I can add, just briefly, this is, although this is much more than a simple narrative, this is still a fraction of the work that was done. The this is a summary of the team design report, for example, the entire report. Those documents are quite bulky. There's photographs that were taken of many, many other schools that we visited. So those things should be considered incorporated into this. This is still, as lengthy as it is, it's still a summary.
It is still a summary, yeah. If
Remarkable
we
amount of
piled
work.
everything up, we'd probably be looking at, feet of some documentations.
Questions for Chris? It's, I had occasion to start reading this last night. It was dropped off at the end of the day yesterday, and spent some time with it today. It's quite comprehensive, and once again, my thanks to all involved in not just assembling the document, but in doing what is clearly yeoman's work over the past year in multiple forums. I think the school board is very grateful for something this clear and comprehensive.
And just point out that the committee was a very fun committee to work with compared with many committees that I've been on in my professional life. Very dedicated people. They're very interested in contributing, and a diversity of opinions were welcomed, and we tried to hear everybody's voice in the process. So I will pass that along to the committee members.
I would also say that we held yet another community forum meeting, school board hearing 2 weeks ago at a school board meeting, which I'm not sure really have minutes of, but
You will.
we will.
We're putting those together. We're trying to take all the input and put it under one document. So you'll have that at your next board meeting.
Great. But what was interesting about that was that there appeared to be, I guess it was unanimous support from those in attendance, probably over 50 people. A lot of questions about what was being recommended by the facilities committee, but tremendous community support for that as well. Comments, questions for Chris?
As far as the comments that we received from the community, I think everybody out there needs to understand, it's very important that this report is not the conclusion of any important decisions that have to be made. It certainly represents some important decisions, but in terms of the final design and configuration of things, that is, we're recommending anyway that the school board institute a separate process to address some of these issues in more detail. So none of the design decisions should be considered to be carved in stone to any extent. and we're still happy, thrilled to be receiving input from people as we go forward. This is kind of the core recommendation of what to do, but there's lots of decisions left to be made and lots of work left to be done. And thank you.
Thank you very much for the report and for presenting the report. I think we as a school board would like to take some action on this, and we have two choices here. We can take the recommendations in their entirety, or we can take them one by one and make some decisions on those. Do people have any preference for process here?
I personally think we should just take it in its entirety. And I would like to make a motion to accept the recommendations of the Facilities Committee as presented in this report.
Would like to second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, Chris, I noticed on one of your minutes on January 22nd, you formed a program needs research, curriculum, instructional needs for the future committee. And yet, there's nothing in this report in regards to what the Facilities Committee would say in terms of what we do if we to build this new structure.
Okay, I'm trying to find that
On
one.
page,
It's June
Appendix
22nd.
A, page 22.
June 22nd?
The first
Yes,
meeting, Chris.
The very first one?
Yes.
Let's see, program needs, research created. Actually, Deb was on that committee. And Scott Thompson were on that committee. Would you guys be able to say anything more specific? I mean, you did meet as a committee and had some discussions about this, I believe, or did we not?
Well, if I may, Chris,
Yes.
I think this is the ed specs. This stuff
Actually, I think that was the lead into the ed specs. That's correct. Yeah.
We sat down with the building administrators and reviewed what the expectation would be around curriculum and programmatical needs. But from there, it moved down into the teaching ranks, so that, for instance, at the high school, every department engaged in discussion with Mrs. Brooks around what their program would look like. What, for instance, science. What would the science look like? What areas are we considering? For instance, we know that we have advanced placement chemistry class and tight quarters. We need to make sure that our building meets
Yeah,
that
that's
need.
exactly
So
right.
that's the kind of thing that we went on with discussions. And from every department, correct me if I'm wrong, Deb, from every department, I got a report, Mrs. Brooks got a report relative to what their needs would be for the future.
Are they talking about dimensions of rooms and stuff like this?
Well, they really didn't, the teachers really didn't get into that. They were thinking about what were the kinds of technology that they would need if I'm in a science lab. What kinds of technology do I need so that I can use the computer to gather data on my experiments? I mean, we're doing some of that right now, but we have significant limitations for electrical, so that doesn't, it's not an easy thing to do. When we're talking about biology labs, we're talking about lab areas so that students can conduct their experiments in various activities that they do in biology. So they were looking more, Chet, at the kinds of activities that they do rather than saying I need a 1,600 square foot room. There's standards that they don't really have any choice over. We know that they have to have a minimum size of 900 square feet in the middle school. So they're not going to debate that point. What they were trying to send forth was, what is it that we need to be effective in the classroom around instruction?
They would have to say what type of a lab they have to do some research here in terms of modernization of
Well,
labs and what's
that,
happening.
Again,
We don't
that
wanna
was
build
the
a school
initial.
that's
ri-
going to be obsolete before we start.
Right. That was the initial phase of this. The next step, should you move forward tonight, that we will be conducting is that we have task forces, and there is a task force for science, mathematics, humanities, and our foreign language. Those folks will sit down with teachers, students, and parents and do exactly that. What will be the needs for our school 5 years, 10 years from now.
So there's more committees coming down the
Yes.
road.
Yes.
See, we didn't define specifically, Chet, because we were kind of waiting for the direction from the school board.
If I may, just to
Is that
reinforce it, that's a
somehow-
fair statement, is in terms of making initial design decisions and direction, we could only work in general terms, but if we're able to take the next step, we'd be looking at design specifics. And when we visited other schools, one of the clear messages at some of the other schools that have gone through renovations and constructions is involving the teachers and the staff intimately in that process led to ultimately better products. And I think that's the level of detail where that would be happening, where you would want to introduce those things.
It's my understanding at this point, this vote that we're likely to take following this discussion is just with respect to these recommendations, to accept the hard work that these people have done and move forward to the next step. It's really a beginning in many respects, and it certainly does not mean that the facility itself is in any way carved in stone, or the curriculum is carved in stone, or anything is carved in stone, other than we recognize that there's a need and we are going to step up to the plate to try to address it.
Are there going to be other reports coming besides this one?
If you recommission the committee so the task forces can continue to work, there will be additional reports. If you
And that
decide
is-
not to go forward, then our work is done.
All right, I'm all set.
You ready for a
Yep.
vote? Are there other questions, more discussion on this? People have concerns. Okay, I think we're ready for vote. All in favor of adopting, this is page 21 for those of you with the report, the final recommendations of the School Facilities Committee. And you have just read these. I don't think we need to read them yet again.
Well, I paraphrased them, so you may want to refer to the document.
We'll
so.
refer to the document, and actually, for the folks at home, because you've paraphrased them, I'm going to do one more read-through of the actual
Okay.
documents. I'll go fast here on this. One, that the school board take immediate steps to design and construct an entirely new facility for grades 5 through 12. This is option 5 that's been presented in numerous forms. That the school board take immediate steps to purchase land necessary to accomplish recommendation 1 and to accomplish other public purposes as appropriate. School board immediately takes steps to evaluate, select, and retain professional design team to facilitate the accomplishment of the recommendations outlined herein, including without limitation taking all steps necessary to secure state building aid and other necessary regulatory approvals. That the school board reconstitute the school facilities advisory committee as a school facilities design committee, authorized to form task forces and/or subcommittees, work with the professional design team, facilitate public input, and make further recommendations to the school board regarding the design and construction of the facility outlined in recommendation 1. That the school board immediately evaluate the availability of funding, including without limitation existing capital accounts, impact fees, grants, or other sources necessary to accomplish the recommendations outlined herein, and to take all steps necessary to make those funds available to implement these recommendations. That the school board continue to pursue discussions with other school districts regarding the possibility of out-of-district students tuitioning into the Newmarket School District on such terms and conditions as the school board may deem appropriate. That the school board authorize the creation of a separate elementary school master plan committee to evaluate and make recommendations regarding the short, mid, and long-term site facilities and program needs of Newmarket Elementary School. That the school board immediately authorize the creation of a junior, senior high school facility task force to evaluate potential reuses of the current junior, senior high school facility and site, and invite the town council, Newmarket Community Development Corporation, Newmarket Business Association, community members, and any other appropriate constituency groups to participate. That the school board adopt the final report and recommendation of the School Facilities Advisory Committee, and that the school board take all other steps necessary to or appropriate to accomplish the recommendations outlined herein. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Once again, thank you,
Thank you, Chris.
and thanks for all your hard work on
Everyone.
this. We look forward to ongoing work with a newly constituted committee and hope to have given the size and nature of this kind of project, an opportunity regularly to continue to inform the community, the school board, and others about the progress and allow opportunity for increased community input as we go forward.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Jonathan, before we jump away from this, I guess I now consider that there is no longer a Facilities Advisory Committee, there is now a Facilities Design Committee. Is that correct? Because we've
Yes.
scheduled a meeting for 2 weeks, so.
We can call it that, and we have certainly given them a charter in number 4 that we just passed.
Yeah, I understand. And I also, I see at least 3 committees here where there's going to have to be school board appointments. First, back to the design committee. Second is this elementary school master plan committee, and the third is the this facility task force. And we don't need to decide that tonight, but we need to.
I'm sure
to
they'll
move
come
on
back
that.
up
Maybe we can
on
put
our
it.
agenda.
Yeah, maybe we can put it on the agenda for next
18th?
meeting.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Maybe we can. I'm happy to try to draft up mission statements that we can look at, little mini mission statements for each of these things, so they have a clear goal, and we can talk about them and doctor them up.
That sounds good. Thank you, Chris.
March is right around the corner. Right around the corner. Thank you.
A question, would you like me to express your appreciation to the members of the
Please do.
Facilities Committee
I certainly would, and
and invite them to participate in the facility design team if they so desire?
I would like that very much. It's something that when I read number 4, we want to reconstitute that, and it would be good to be working with folks who have the experience thus far to try to benefit from that.
Which gets us to the question of pay.
Hold your breath on that one, Chris.
To which the answer is none.
Chris is.
They have our undying gratitude, and then some.
I have plenty of that.
I can't help what I do for a living.
We'll start talking about bottom of the ocean here in a minute.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along. Resignations? We have
Yes.
a few
Uh,
here.
We have a few. It's that time of year, as you know, that
Get it memorized.
Thanks again.
You can download it.
lots of things happen.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
We're
Thank
going to
you.
talk about you after you're gone, Skip.
I would ask that you would accept the resignation of Lita Carter. I believe that I left that on your table tonight.
Right here.
In addition, Wendy Matson, Kathy Pease have submitted their resignation. On your list in your packet, it had Laura McCarthy as a resignation. Laura has asked for an extension on her leave of absence. She's home having had twins and just needed a little more time and asked that she be extended another year before she returns. We were able to do that. We were able to fill her position for a year, and Mrs. McNulty has recommended that she be given the additional year. She's a highly valued occupational therapist in the district. So it's two. I don't want you to be confused. And then at the high school,
Yeah.
we have two more resignations: Christine Shea and Carolyn Cargashal.
So if we're going to do a vote on the acceptance of resignations, let me just replay this. It's Alita Carter, Kathy Pease, Wendy Matson, Christine Shea, and Carolyn Coggeshall.
That's correct.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah,
So moved. Sorry, Chet, go ahead.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I guess I moved it and Chet seconded it.
Yeah, I
Sorry, Chet, I
seconded
didn't
it.
mean to step on you.
And the idea of an extension, do we vote on extending a leave of absence?
Yes,
How does that fit with?
that's
policy?
somewhat unusual. In normally you provide a year's leave of absence. That's pretty traditional. You vote on that. This is another year's leave, which is a little unusual. But again, given the quality and the her work here in the district, Mrs. McNulty would like to see her return.
Okay. Can I get a motion that we extend this leave of absence for Laura McCarthy?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion about this? I'm just, let me just ask you this, Kathleen. If we go with this, are we setting a precedent where others who want a second year, an extension, I mean, pretty much as I recall, somebody requests a year's leave of absence, they've been here a while, it's, I don't want to say it's perfunctory, but practice is, unless there are specific reasons
Right.
why you wouldn't do it, we would do it.
Right.
A second year is pretty unusual.
Yes,
Are
it
we
is. You are
establishing
establishing a
a precedent
practice
and a practice to do that if
to
somebody
do
requests a
that,
second
and
year?
yes, you are.
What are the implications of that?
The implications are that
The
it
next time
could-
somebody
next time comes, it could be a case-by-case situation. I mean,
Okay.
I'd be happy to share the specifics of this request in non-public
Okay.
with you, if you would like to.
We have motion on the floor that's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. We have some nominations here.
Yes, we do. I'm pleased to place the names for elementary school. Why don't I do it by the school? Kimberly Garrett, special education teacher. Mary Conley Mitchell, grade 4. That's the timeshare part-time position. And Anne Marie Puller, special education teacher.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm pleased to present the following names for the junior senior high school. Siobhan Mihalik, language arts teacher. Elizabeth Beaulieu, special education teacher. Jennifer Kenyon, half-time art. Sarah Newberry, 1/3 English. And Mark Gaudette, 1/3 English, and then Mark Gaudette will be teaching one social studies class. And also on your table is the nomination for Jamie Hayes for physical education teacher at the junior senior high school.
I'd like to make a motion to accept those the nominations.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Just a footnote, if I might, I'm very pleased with the caliber. I think we have some excellent professionals joining our teaching staff with outstanding credentials, excellent graduate and undergraduate work, and terrific recommendations. And I'm very pleased. I think you can see that. And I think that the interview process and the rigors that we ask during that process bring out the best candidates. So our building principals have done a great job with that, and the folks that help them. I have some other additional nominations for teaching assistants. If I might, I'd be pleased to place the name Donna Harrington, Stacy Savigny, and Elizabeth Valinsky at the elementary school, and at the high school, Joyce Broadway, Ann Kane, David Littlefield, Sherry Michaud, and Linda Zarnowski. For your
I'd like to
consideration.
make a motion to accept those nominations.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain from that vote. That can be recorded. Thank you.
Okay.
And finally, I'm pleased as punch to announce that all of our positions are filled at the high school with regards to the custodial staff. Oh, yes, Mrs. Brooks is looking at me. That's true. We have all of our positions are filled, and Donald Acoin is replacing Matt Kroll, Ralph Brown, who will replace retiring Albert LaRoche, and Laura West, who is replacing Bob Croto, who also retired. So we have a full team at the high school.
Great.
Excellent.
Do we vote on those as well?
Yes, you do. You by tradition, you've always done that.
Okay.
You don't have to, but
Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept these nominees.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
just to update you, because this is such a busy time for personnel, I'm sure you know that. At the elementary school, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a grade 4 opening classroom teacher. Scott's in the process of doing interviews, as well as 2 speech and language therapists. At the high school, we are currently looking for part-time math, part-time biology, and a Spanish teacher, and English. We are close on all of those positions, so we feel confident we'll be fully staffed come September. Actually, August, when we start.
Okay. Great. Well,
Take a breath.
I'll keep our fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah.
Can we go for the business department update?
Sure. I will start with, actually, the budgeting process should be 06, 07. Hard to believe that we're already starting the process for the next fiscal year. In your packet, you should have had the draft schedule that I prepared. For budget
For those of you
One revision, the September 22nd, if you just want to cross that out. I'm not going to go with that date.
September 27th as opposed to September?
22nd, I'm just going to cross that date right out of there. I assumed there was a board meeting on that date, but I missed a week, so and it's going to be too quick to present a budget, so we'll just move that up to the 22nd.
22nd.
Okay, so we're, this is
Just
the
cross-
schedule.
right,
Cross
that's
out
just
the
my-
22nd.
Again, that's a draft schedule, tentative.
How does it look?
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question. First of all, I asked to have this on the agenda because as we start this process, I'd just like to get some input from you as a board. Several of you have been through the process, seen the booklets, attended the meetings. Any input, any suggestions for changes? I picked some dates. Those aren't necessarily the dates that we'll meet, and they're open for discussion. I think last year we tried to set aside a specific day of the week, so you always knew that Wednesday was budget, Thursday was board meetings. I picked a few of both, so I don't know how you feel about that. What are your thoughts on that?
When the first one that jumps out at me, which is July 14th, open discussion for all areas with principals and school board. What did you have in mind for that in particular?
Just basically what we're doing now. I just want some input from you as we
Oh,
begin the
okay.
process. Just, I've met with both principals actually and talked with them about their goals and what they're planning for the new year, how we
Okay.
want to proceed, and then I just want some input from you if you have anything to share with us
Okay.
as we move forward. I I
tend to prefer to have it a specific day of the
Okay.
week,
Okay.
but I'm flexible.
Well, I think what we did last year is we tried to stay with Thursdays, so in the opposite Thursdays that you had board meetings, you had budget meetings, so you were out every Thursday, which is not always good, but then you went out Wednesday and Thursday, so whatever you think.
Well, we can
And we can revise those,
determine
too.
what that is. And you're our
I'm the-
budget
yes.
committee rep. You're on the budget committee,
Yes.
but you are a rep to the budget committee this year.
What have they done in the past, Sue, in terms of somebody who's on the budget committee and in the school board? What am I, just split myself in half, or
No,
just?
historically, and I think this has happened once before, you are not representing the school board to the committee.
All right.
Linda is representing the school board to the committee. In this case, you're a budget committee member. You just happen to have the inside track on what's going on at the school board. But the hat that you're wearing for that meeting is not the school board hat. It's a budget committee member hat. Linda is our rep for this.
All right.
Just so there's some
Yep.
clarity on
Yep.
that. Of course, if for some reason she can't make it, and you need to wear a school board hat, I think of anybody who was in the room, you can certainly do that effectively. But you need to be clarifying which
Yep.
hat you're wearing
agree.
when. Otherwise, people get confused. The community gets confused. They don't know, what chair you're speaking from. So, so I think in terms of you, and just going back to the original piece, as the rep, particularly to the budget committee, I'm really, this is a massive undertaking, as I recall, and I think that some of your particular preferences with this, we should listen to very carefully, in terms of what works for you.
Well,
Thursdays, so I'll try to stay with the opposite.
that would be great.
And as we get into the process, we may need to add another day because sometimes we get in a
Absolutely.
time crunch, but.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then I want you to note the August 2nd, we have confirmed with the Budget Committee that we will meet with them. I think that's a Tuesday. And that's just a basic preliminary where we just sit down with them, get to meet the new members and go over the process.
Mhm.
That'll be
That's-
here.
It's gone
Do you
pretty
think,
well.
do you think maybe for that meeting, we might want to make a couple of a couple of pages from last year's budget, just to show them, okay, this is what your packet will look like when we get together, just so that they'll, kind of have a heads up.
Yeah,
in
actually,
terms
what
of-
I'll do is I'll bring my binder and have it there.
There you
so they
go,
can
and you
look
can
at
just pass it around and let them look.
We have
That's cool.
several members that have been on the Budget Committee and few, I'm not sure how many, few new members,
Yeah,
so.
there's a
it's
few new.
Yeah, it's nice
Yeah.
to sit down
Yeah.
early
Yep.
and give them some information, so.
I just want to, Jonathan, I just want to drop a footnote here for folks at home. I hope they are listening and appreciate that we're talking about our budget process now. This is a very intense 6-month process to formulate the budget. Of course, the administration lives with the budget every day, all year round, but an awful lot of work goes into it. And I just hope that people appreciate that, even if they don't like the number for whatever reason. It's not for lack of effort on our part.
You will also have some very important decisions to make as a board. As we begin, and as Sue already indicated, we've met with the building administrators. They're already working on their budget. I mean, they've gathered input from their teachers. They did that in the spring, so that over the summer they begin the development of their budget, grassroots. Got right from the practitioners, which is a great strategy. Moved it to the building administrators, and then work with us. But you will have some very tedious decisions to make with respect to the building project. And that's clearly going to influence, I believe, the work that you do over the next 6 months. Chris is absolutely correct in that it will be very intense. And the idea that the chair has allowed time at the board meeting for community input, I think is very important.
Well, I think we're going to be seeing some this will be an ongoing process. I would encourage, well, Linda, you're the appointed rep for this, others to kind of get involved and offer some support, and it doesn't hurt for, people will certainly be involved as we develop the budget, but in terms of the town budget committee and that interface, I think it's helpful for others to at least have some relationship with some of the folks who are doing that, and for them to see not only the one liaison rep, which is one of the nice things about having Chet sit on that committee and others work with that group as well. But we're all involved in this. This is not a, having been through, this will be my, I don't know, third or fourth. It's quite a process. Okay. So we're gonna change some of the dates on this. And, this particular schedule,
We attached that schedule. This is just your meeting schedule, starting for the year,
okay,
starting tonight. We give you a new schedule of all the meetings. You can mark these in your date books or your palms or whatever you use. But I thought it's helpful. The difference this year is all the meetings are here. You know, last year and the year before, we were traveling all over the community as a way to interface, but this is much more effective, having the TV, the cable. So those are your dates for the year.
okay.
So you want to go with it?
Questions about budget process or the calendar schedule coming up? Okay. Let's, the goal is to put these in a way that we can live with all of these dates and get them into your schedules. But we have at times, you know, there's always, as you know, a little bit of wiggle room with this. We discover that we've picked a date 6 months out that is, you know, I don't see Christmas Eve on here, but, you know, where it's something that conflicts with something crucial, we do have some wiggle room around changing dates and times.
Oh, that's the other thing, too. When I did the budget schedule, I did check with Debbie and Scott, to check dates for, like, open house. So right now, I don't have any conflicts, but if that occurs, we will shift the meetings to accommodate that, so.
I think we're trying to make stuff in accordance with some kind of master calendar where we check everything against everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The firehouse update?
In your packets, I included the original notice that I intend to put in the newspapers next week. I did make some revisions to that this week, only because I had the opportunity to meet with a member of the community who is a real estate agent, and she really wanted to see the building and give me some recommendations from her point of view, and I'm very grateful that she met with me on Tuesday and made a few suggestions. One of them was to have a couple of showings and to move the dates out, just because she felt that this was a very attractive building and we should try to get as many people as we can that are interested in it.
Mhm.
So it's just a little change in the dates. On July 26th, I will be there at 9 a.m. for anyone who's interested in viewing the building, and again on August 2nd at 1 p.m. So for anyone out there that would like to see that building, I'll open it up so that you can come in and look at it. And then we are asking that the bids be submitted by August 17th. And this information, as I said, will be in the papers next week, and then I'll have it in the office if anyone wants to stop by. I do need to, one last time, run it by our attorneys. That's an update on
You
the
know,
process. Any questions?
I like the idea that that you're having two showings and that you're spacing them a little bit apart. The only thing I would say about that is that should someone who's interested in doing this be taking some kind of, you know, summer vacation, these are 2 consecutive weeks that are among the most popular in the year.
Okay.
You may find that, you know, a little bit of distance between those would likely to catch somebody who might be away.
Okay.
It's just something to consider. It leaps out at me because I'm going to be out of town both of those
Both of those
weeks
days.
and would not be able to make either of those showings.
Mm.
Not that I'm looking to buy the building, but it clicks on me that that's a prime time for people to not be available. Something to consider.
I can
By-
move it up, but.
Or maybe, you know, if parties are interested in taking a tour, maybe they could call
That's
your
true.
office and maybe you can, you know,
And I'm happy
schedule.
to do that. I've shown it a couple times already.
So
just for
do you want to
people
just
call me.
say, or by appointment?
Sure, that's.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think that
okay.
opens it in a legal kind of way so that if somebody runs into an issue,
Yep.
they can, they have that option. This makes it a little bit,
Great suggestion.
That's great.
yeah.
Yep, I will do that.
I'd appreciate if people could respect Sue's time and try to show up at the appointed times if possible. Just
Okay.
reasonable notice would be helpful.
I'm glad that that's moving along.
You wanna, this looks, do you wanna act, do we need to act on this, or you
No,
just?
I think
gonna-
this is more
Last
informative.
meeting.
We acted before to authorize.
Oh, no, no, it's cool.
So I don't think we need
we
any
have
action
to.
on this.
It's cool.
How about the manifest?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the manifest as stated. Do we need-
You just read the numbers and we vote on them, and we can pass it down so that it gets recorded into the minutes.
Is in total,
Yes.
the total payroll manifest at $531.66. And the total accounts payable manifest of $460,567.18.
That is the grand total.
Okay, with the grand total of $98.84.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Action items? Let's see. Well, we did the discussion of the credit allocations, review the handbook. We have, an idea of the draft strategic plan. Where are we at with that, Kathy?
Well, actually, we're getting there. I may not make the target date of July, but I'm hoping that in August, late August, you're going to have a very, very draft of a strategic, a 5-year strategic plan that will address curriculum and instruction, will address personnel, will address facilities, and will address community. Those are the 4 major areas. Obviously, some of the work that was done by the Facilities Committee, the work that's done with curriculum and instruction, all of that will come together. And all the work that Sue and I have done with various groups over the last 15 months to gather information. And we're putting it together now. We have a plan, and I've, Kat Plord is going to help me put that together.
Right.
So, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great vehicle for you to use as you move forward with budget and whatever decisions you make.
We are pretty steadily approaching the holy grail of a district-wide master plan, right? Facilities, you get an elementary school master plan, you get your strategic plan. You're going to have a district-wide master plan to cover 10, 15, 20 years. So we won't even have to show up here. We're just going to push a button.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm
You'll
not
be
sure
all
about
set.
that.
Wishful thinking.
What does the master plan say?
We still need to do some things, even if it's a dog and pony
Yes.
for former school board members. Okay, moving right along.
Is there anything that needs to go on this action item list that we haven't?
I guess the flip-flops aren't going to make it, huh?
No,
Well,
just don't even, moving right along. We monitor
perhaps
the,
Mrs. Montagani can take you to shopping and let you see the footwear that's available.
No, I said to him, my daughter would never speak to me again if I voted in favor of outlawing
Perhaps you ought to
flip-flops.
ask Mr. Hawkins if his daughter is speaking to him.
It's not personal to anybody.
I know that. We know
Okay.
that.
I think
We
they're
know.
unsafe.
Tell my 15-year-old daughter that, please.
yeah, you can come over and tell
Sarah?
my 14-year-old.
Sarah, they're unsafe. Please don't wear them to school.
Moving
Is there
right along.
anything else in the action
Moving
items
right
that you'd like
along.
to add to this list? Is there any?
Well, we received your memo, and
Yes.
as you can see, mine is still blank. But I think that once we have,
We want to
the
talk
time
about
to-
this a little
yeah,
bit.
the time.
This
to-
is important because this helps me to set the agenda. I think you could bury yourself in money and all those other issues and policies. Not that that's a bad thing, mind you, but there may be topics of interest. I try to bring program to you so that you understand what are the programs, that youngsters have opportunity for here. and ask the questions like you did tonight. And so this is very helpful to me and to Jonathan to help us set the agenda for the year.
One of the things that I would like to see on action items, and it's something that we will cover in non-public, that Kathleen and I will work on, that you've given me approval for, but this is a place where we put things that we don't want to lose sight of, is the fact that we've discussed contract renewal with Kathleen. And I want to make sure that that's present for us, that it doesn't get buried in all of this other work that we're doing. It's a vote of confidence in her performance that I want to make sure that we take care of. We have on this already, the Health Benefits Committee with July, 7:05 is July.
Look,
Is it a reconvening we're trying to do here?
Yeah,
What are we trying to do?
I-
with it?
We did, I've already met with the Teachers Association and president, and they are ready to sit down again and with us and reconvene the committee, Health Benefits Committee, and take a look at the available programs that are out there for another look at that. There's a lot of interest, and I was quite pleased. So the date is, we said October, right? October, target date,
Right.
which means we would bring to you
A
a
recommendation.
recommendation.
Okay. Because I know that what happens is this is kind of, it dovetails with our budget process, and sometimes it's hard for us to get the information in a timely fashion to make decisions, so we get a little bit crunched toward the end, but we have in our current contract a requirement that we're reviewing this stuff annually. And it is the one of the, certainly on the, apart from salaries, one of the largest items in the budget that we need to wrestle with, especially something that is pretty much beyond our control. And so it's one of those things that we want to make sure it's really on our plate with some degree of regularity.
I made a
So you
note.
guys are meeting already on this, Sue, is that correct? You're
Individually,
starting to?
but the committee, I just made a note to schedule a health committee meeting,
Okay,
just probably in September sometime. Once we get going.
okay,
You want my list
Process.
now?
That's fine, that'd be great.
okay.
Can I get another blank one?
Never
You
mind.
can write on the back.
He's passing
You
it
want
in.
to?
Okay. Moving right along, are there other action items that folks want to see on this that we feel we need to be addressing? I know that the policy committee continues to chip away with this of some degree of regularity. I also know that we're going to get an update on the financial stuff. That I think Rod said he could come to the next.
Yes,
Meeting?
I had an email from him, and he agreed to the 18th.
Yeah, so it'll be a bit of an update on some of the things that have been going on behind the scenes to shore up our financial.
And there are some
Policies.
policies. There are two policies. One is an investment policy specifically, and also a policy around the manifest and approving the manifest in a timely fashion. And so Chet and I will be meeting in August to prepare policies for your review in September, so I expect that those will be part of it.
Just to backtrack for a second, so we're going to have a different copy of this before
Yes,
the next
yes.
meeting, so we can get the right dates on our.
Right. I
On
just
our
wanted some
schedule.
input from you and.
Great.
I'll advise
Okay.
it.
Okay, well then let's, with regard to the memo that Kathy gave us about other topics of interest that we'd like to know more about, this is something that I just want to say a little bit for the folks at home. Kathleen Murphy, our superintendent of schools, has asked the board that there might be topics of interest that the school board would like to know more about. Examples might be areas of curriculum or English as a second language or special ed, things that would ultimately go on the school board agenda. And I would like folks to kind of give this some thought so that we can get it into next year's agenda. And for people at home who have special interest that they'd like to see the school board spend a little extra attention on, I would be comfortable having them let us know that, either me personally or Kathy Murphy. Not everyone is as timely with this as Chris Hawkins, and we want to give you a chance to give it some thought. And if you'd like to hear more about aspects of the school and have those aspects or subject matter covered at a school board meeting, let us know. Great. The calendar. Okay.
I just want to draw your attention to the week of the 25th of July, in that the SAU office will be closed. You know, we're given a small office and a small number of folks in the office, and trying to provide coverage, it's actually easier to just close the office so that everyone can take some vacation time. It's sort of vacation time for some of the administrators, and it isn't. The middle of the week on the 27th, 28th, and 29th, our administrators, including the principals, assistant principals, special ed coordinators, Susan, myself, Elaine McNulty, will be spending time on a retreat to review the district goals, to set priorities, to also do have some professional development opportunities for them. So it's a time when we can also have some work together as a team, uninterrupted. So technically the office is closed, but your administrators will be spending some time working together as a team. Just kind of wanted to give you a little.
Will you be gone a whole week?
I will.
Office will be closed.
Office will be
Office will be
closed.
closed.
When I'm looking at the all-staff return professional development days at the end of August, new teacher orientation. In the past, does the board or board members do or say anything at the start of the school year and to kick off?
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's planning ahead. On the 25th, all of the staff will return to a morning. Traditionally, we've done a morning breakfast. It's an opportunity to welcome everyone back. There's an occasion for recognition where we recognize years of service.
Mm-hmm.
We recognize the attendance, perfect attendance of our staff, and we really come together as collectively as professionals, and that's a wonderful opportunity for the chair of the school board to bring greetings, be there, and
Is that an 8 a.m.? When does that start?
yes,
again?
we have 8 a.m. breakfast followed by an 8:30 program.
I think the chair is expected to make a very elegant extemporaneous speech of at least an hour in length.
Yeah. I
Well,
may
this year he's
actually-
going to be off the hook a little bit because we have two very important workshops scheduled for the teachers at 9:30. So his remarks will have to.
Yeah, well, I'll talk with you about this.
Okay.
I'm right now scheduled to be out of the state on that
Okay.
on that morning.
But if you or the vice chair
or
could
the
do
vice
that.
The
chair.
vice chair just happens to be on vacation that week.
Oh, that's right.
But I'll be here.
This would be a good opportunity for personal growth for James.
Here you go, James.
Something to consider. I'm sure that a representative
We would love to.
of
We'll-
the
we'll-
school board.
It's really nice to have you there.
To
Last year,
have,
I think Chet was there and Chris was there.
Three of us
Linda,
were
the
there.
three. Yeah, it was nice, and I think the teachers appreciate that. So if
Yeah,
you
well,
have
I
some
think-
time, join us for breakfast.
Yeah.
We have
Something
something
to
new
mark
this
on
year
your-
on the
on your-
20,
It's
I
25th.
don't have my glasses, 23rd. We have something new, teacher orientation, a full day for our brand-new staff,
Great.
where we're going to, kind of immerse them in the district and in giving them a brief overview of all programs, lunch. They'll have lunch with their mentors. So it's a new, we're trying it out this year.
Talk about the EAP program, things that
All
they
of
get.
the things, Susan does a whole piece on the business aspects
Great.
with EAP, flex spending, all that.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So this year, the students go to school Monday through Thursday, the
Yes.
first week, or the last week of August?
Yes, and then they have a 4-day, and then the following week, in September, is also 4-day because Labor Day
Right.
falls on that Monday, the 4th,
Okay.
the 5th.
Anything else happening, upcoming on the calendar? Okay.
The facilities committee is, Kathy's working with the Old Home Day people and the Heritage Festival people to try to get us booths there, so people can come and, we can have the water tank thing where you throw the ball and you drop in.
Is this with the new school in the background? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think we've already talked to a couple of people who we're gonna volunteer to do that.
To talk about the process and give.
No, to
use
be
that as a
dunked
form?
in the tank, but yes, to be
Okay.
dropped in.
In addition to yourself, you're saying?
He's
No.
volunteered, yes.
Clearly,
You
they're going to be
volunteered,
lining
Chris.
up,
Money
Chris.
that would
We
be
can raise
raised.
some money on that.
Well, I have been volunteered for the jail-a-thon for the muscular dystrophy, and so far people have paid more to put me in than to get me out.
I have
But
received.
in all seriousness, Kathy is trying to set up.
I
to
have received
information.
Yeah.
from the Main Street Project, who runs the Heritage Festival, a willingness to allow us to set up a table with information. We will staff the table throughout the Heritage Festival to answer questions about our school. We'll have school district reports, some of the flyers, any information we have about schools and
Yeah.
this project, the report.
Great.
Available.
When is the Heritage Festival?
September, it's like the
The
second
Heritage
week.
Festival's in
That was the
September.
19th.
Old Home Weekend is in mid-August.
Yeah. So this is going to happen at Old
know when it
Home
is, James?
Weekend?
Both.
Oh, yeah.
Old Home Week is in August.
I
and
think
we'll-
Old Home Weekend is the weekend of the 12th, 13th, and
Yeah.
14th.
This is okay. And so are you looking, as long as we're talking about this, for
Yeah.
either members of the school board or other folks to get involved with helping staffing some of these
Yes.
booths?
Yes.
That'll be addressed at week Tuesday night, the 26th. We have a facilities design committee meeting, and we'll address that night. We'll staff that table for the
Okay,
time that we need to.
great.
And if we could get that DVD running, if we could have like a TV or something set up, I don't know if that's possible, to have that
Generator.
They have
DVD
electric
running.
power.
Yeah, to have that DVD running, so that people can see the the tour of the school. But
Eh.
just something to think about.
And this is the 13th and 14th of August?
I believe that's
So I
when the
believe that's-
Old Home Weekend starts on the 12th and finishes up on the 14th. Because the road race is scheduled for the 13th, Bill Archieri tells me.
Yes, it
Okay.
is. So that is the weekend.
Great. So we know that weekend.
And the
Okay.
Heritage Festival in September. Both of those are wonderful opportunities to at least get information out.
Sure.
Answer questions, yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And is there more besides for a public session that people need to cover? Let me, as long as a former school board member is in the room, thanks.
Already there, yeah.
Thanks for stopping by. Nice to see you. Some of you know
You
Anthony.
didn't have anything you wanted to talk about?
Anything?
Just visiting?
How was your
To him
year
at
at
his place
school?
of employment.
Excellent.
for you.
Excellent.
Great.
Excellent.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming by, Anthony. Okay, well, do we have the need to go into non-public? I think we do.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to go into non-public session under section 91A dash 3.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We're off.
Are we off?
We're off.